Slow motion, we're just floating in slow motion free. We're just floating on.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Shannon Miller with Cleaning Business Life, and today we are here with Donny, who is the owner of Joy of Cleaning, and we're going to talk a little bit about company culture and a bunch of other things. So, Donny, why don't you go ahead and tell the audience what you do, how you do it, why you do it, all that stuff, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. First of all, I appreciate the invite, and hopefully the information we share here will be useful to your audience. So my name is Donny Minchillo. I've owned Joy of Cleaning for about 7 years. I did buy a book of business. That's how it started, with a few different clients. And here we are today, fast forward a little over 6 years now. We have almost 30 employees, and we started out as just me and one cleaner back in end of 2019.
That's awesome. So are you operating all in the same area, or do you have different locations, or is it just one location? How is that working out for you?
So we are in the St. Pete. A lot of people don't know St. Pete, but it's in the Tampa area. So we mainly cover St. Pete, but we also cover Tampa, which is across the bridge. So the whole Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, so the Tampa Bay area. One location.
Awesome. And when you first started to build your business, did you notice that company culture was missing? Is that something that you go, oh my God, we're missing this piece, and you just added it in? Was it something that was already present with your one employee? How did that work out?
Yeah, it was definitely not present. And company culture was actually something that it took me quite a while for me to understand how important it is. Being part of a mastermind, CBF, for quite some time, that did help me and a few other masterminds understand how important company culture was. And slowly I started to realize that being a leader is not just, sharing with the team where we want to be, where we want to go, but also, right, to share with the team that, okay, this is what we stand for. This is who we support. This is who we are as human beings, right? Because above all, we're not just a business. We are a business with people. So making sure that we're all, moving in the right direction, acting in a specific way, communicating with specific words, for me, it was like, it became clear as we started growing a little bit more.
Awesome. Now, do you hire based on your company culture, or did you pull from other people's ideologies? How did you come up with the concept of company culture for your business?
That's a great question. So we do, think about company culture when we're hiring, but I truly believe that we can do better in that department when it comes to hiring. I think once we have everyone in the team, we have specific processes and systems in place to carry on the culture and to share with people what we stand for, right? But hiring is, our main focus is to hire good people, honest people, hardworking people, and that is part of company culture, right? But I think above all, just having, great people has been the key. And of course, taking care of the people that work for us.
Definitely. I always say that the cleaning techs are like golden unicorns. And you can see the different dynamics from because I talk to a lot of people, I'm sure you do too, of that nobody wants to work versus I worship you. It's without you, I couldn't do it. I constantly am telling people, without you guys, I could not do what I do. And some people grasp that concept and others don't. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure. So you're hiring a little bit based on culture, but you're hiring mostly on personality, job skill, those types of things. So I'm sure you have a funnel for that. Because I've spoken to some people and they have a company culture and they hire specifically for the company culture. So that's why I was curious.
Yeah, as I said, I think there's a lot of room for growth in that department for us. But I think that, again, for me, good people, it's not that it's hard to find. It's just something that we focus on a lot, are they honest, clear background check, all that kind of stuff.
Definitely. Having good people is so important, especially in this industry, because we are such a trust-based industry. What would be like a big red flag? I know that you said you don't specifically hire based on company culture, but what would be a big red flag for you if you were doing the interviews? I don't think you probably have an operations manager that does it, or a HR person. What would be a red flag to one of them or to you if you came across somebody who just wasn't a good fit?
Well, I don't do the hiring anymore. I do have somebody that does it, the entire process from, we do group interviews and then we do a one-on-one and then we decide if they're a good fit. We go through a training process. And even then, it doesn't mean that they're actually hired after training, right? Because a lot of things can be discovered or, they can come up as we're training them, as we see them on the field, as we see how they communicate, how they move, how they present themselves. But I think that, there's a few different things that are red flags. But I think for me, one of the biggest things is, two main things. One of them, just being on time. That is a big, big thing for me. And if they are late to an interview, most likely they're going to be late to work. The other thing, and it's not necessarily one more important than the other, but communication. If the person is not willing to communicate and let us know, even if they're going to be late, let us know in advance, right? Like communication is extremely, extremely important to me. And if they cannot send us a message or if they cannot tell us really what's going on and they hide things that we end up finding out later, which we've had in the past, right? Because once we do a background check, and there's multiple levels of background checks, I'm sure a lot of your audience knows that, but some may not. We do a pretty in-depth background check. And then if we find something that they didn't communicate with us up front, then it's a huge, huge red flag. And we'd rather for them to tell us up front, even if there's a minor issue, we might still consider hiring them. Obviously, if they stole something, if they've done something more serious, we definitely don't hire them. But if there was something minor, some sort of traffic violation or something like that, then, we find out later because we do ask, like specifically, do you have anything, and then we find out, then it's a huge red flag for me.
Right. You had mentioned that you get all the way, you actually onboard them and then get them through training. And then even sometimes they don't make it through training. How much are you investing? You probably don't even, because you're not doing the day-to-days, but what's the length of time? Let's not talk about numbers. The length of time of training that you were giving someone to give them the opportunity to make it through training. Is it 5 days? Is it 7 days? 14 days? What is it?
Yeah, it's actually 6 days. So we do training for 5 days. And then on the 6th day is an actual test. So they go with the trainer on the 6th day and they do one main house by themselves. If we have a second house, they'll do a second house as well. But essentially, that is the test day for them. And then if we do choose to hire them, then we bring them back in the office and then we say, yep, everything went well. Here's, what you can expect. We're going to start a week with just one house per day, which is kind of like a trial period to see how they do on their own. And then, so instead of doing 2 weeks of training, we do 1 week of training, 1 day of them really going and doing a house by themselves, and then another week of them doing one house a day. If they do super well during training, then we might skip and give 2 houses per day on that first week of employment after training.
Gotcha. That'll be good for them to know because everyone does it a little bit different, I found. So some people were like 3 weeks. I'm like, wow, 3 weeks is a long time.
Too much.
That's expensive.
Yeah, it's super.
So with that being said, when they're out in the field and they're in, I forgot to even ask, are you operating in solos? Are you doing doubles, triples? What are you doing?
Mostly solos.
Mostly solos?
And again, it depends, right? If the cleaning is huge, move in, move out, deep cleans, if they're huge, then we do send them, as teams. But the vast majority is all solos.
Gotcha. I like the solo method myself. Just because it's more profitable. I've run all 3, but I like the solo because then there's no insider, like who didn't do the bathroom, that type of stuff.
Exactly.
No bickering, no boyfriends, no drama. I'm like, oh, I love this. But how are you how are you and your team creating culture out in the field for your cleaning tech since you are running solo? Are you having like mass gatherings? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we're a pretty remote company, but we do gather every month. Here, I'm actually in this classroom type of room in where our office is, and we run games, we run through training, we go over different things that's going on with the company. That's one thing that we do. We do have other things in place from a software perspective. We have this thing called Joy Kudos, which is a budget that I allocate to give coins to everyone every month. And what they do is they just give each other coins for doing something, something that they can appreciate, whether it is to share some sort of knowledge with them or if they work together and they work really well. So if they want to just thank somebody for something that they did, or just anything in general. And then those coins, after they accumulate some, they can exchange for a gift card, for a day, pay time off, for whatever really what they want. If they want something like physical, they can also get like a gift card for Amazon or Target or whatever.
Wow.
Just a couple of ways. Mm-hmm.
So what's the maximum? I'm curious. I'm like, what's the maximum they could earn?
Well, they can accumulate over time, right? So we give
gotcha.
a certain number. Yeah. So every month we have a budget. I think it's about, I could be wrong, but it's between like $25 and $50 per month that they all receive. And they cannot give themselves coins, right? But they have to give another person. So like we always see these things, these notifications, because we connect to Slack. And then it says, Emily gave Nicole, 50 coins or 100 coins. And they can accumulate to 3,000 coins, and then they can have a full day of pay time off eventually. So it could take a couple of months, 2-3 months to accumulate, but they can have a full day pay time off with those coins.
I love that. Were you the brainchild behind that, or did you get that from somebody else?
I believe it's been a couple of years. I think I either came across an ad or we were looking for a way for us to appreciate each other, because I do believe strongly that like once we appreciate each other for the little things that they do, and if there is something, in this case it's not physical, it is digital, but it is something more than just words, right? And they can really like, oh, wow, okay, I received these coins from this person, not just words, that now I can exchange for something that's valuable to me, whether it is a gift card or a pay time off, like a full day pay time off. Like it feels a little bit different. So I think we were looking for something, and then I came across this software, which now we built our own, that we can give each other, and it's super simple to set up, and then it's been working out like really great. People really, really enjoy it.
You had mentioned the name of it at the beginning of what you were starting to say. What is the name of that software for the audience?
So is it okay if I share my own, like what we have built?
Yeah,
So
sure.
what we built is called Joy AI, and there's a bunch of, there's quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of functionalities inside Joy AI, but that is just one of them, where they can appreciate another person just for like thanking them for something. I mean, I can go over if you like, but yeah.
I think it's awesome. I absolutely love it. I had no idea there was even software for that. So I just can appreciate and see where this could go with that for sure. And then what other things are you doing? Or do you have like certain rituals that you're doing? I mean, obviously you're having acknowledgement done through Slack. Besides the meetings, are there any other like systems that help keep people connected to keep the company culture in place?
Yeah, well, I think one of the most important things as a leader, right, as the owner of the company, is the touch with the owner, the connection, the conversations. So for me, the technicians, I don't have as much because I have somebody dedicated, to take care of them. But a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. Maybe I'll touch on the field and what we have in place. But a few months back, we realized that, okay, we're not really meeting one-on-one enough with the technicians, because the bigger you are, the more technicians you have, it becomes a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more complicated to meet with them one-on-one. And we realized that older technicians, we were not meeting with them. Sometimes we would go, other than the monthly meeting that we have, we would go 6 months before having a one-on-one with them. It's too long, right? So we decided, no, let's create an actual like calendar. We're going to meet with everyone. Like we meet with people multiple times a week to make sure that we meet with them regularly. And so actually something here for everybody to really pay attention, because employee turnover is a big deal, right? In the cleaning industry, like huge. And we realized that when we looked at the data, we realized that technicians leave within the first 3 months. If they've been with you 3 to 6 months, they tend to stay with you. So what we decided to do is, why don't we meet with them more frequently in the first 3 to 6 months? And then we can space out a little bit more how often we meet with them one-on-one. But these meetings, these one-on-ones with them, it's just to check in on how they're doing, like at work, but also personally. Because again, we're still people, right? Like they still have their families, they're still dealing with stuff. And so we want to be here, not just for work related problems or anything that they have going on, but also personally, because I want to help people, right? Like I want to make sure they're doing well, because if they're doing well at home, they're going to do well at work. And the other thing that touching back on that point about meeting one-on-one, the admin team, like the admin team is extremely important. And again, we have a pretty remote team. I have one person here in the US and I have 5 people remotely now working in Brazil and India. And I meet with them pretty much every week, at least once, to check in on them, to talk about what are they working on? What do they need? How they're doing, coming up with different ways for them to make more money, having some sort of bonus structure that I recently realized how important it is for them to make more money if they exceed, what they're supposed to do. So I believe, we don't know really what's going on in people's minds, right? Like completely, no. but we can get some idea based on what they tell you, how they feel about the company, how they feel about the day-to-day, how they feel about the conversations that we have, how much they share with you as a business owner. And then once I realized, wow, they're really sharing personal stuff and they're asking for advice on a lot of different things. I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing something right. So let me keep doing what I'm doing because I think it is working and they feel trusted by me when we have these types of conversations.
It's interesting as our society bumps along with technology, how much of a lonely existence it can be. We have so many things that connect us, but yet a lot of us are still very lonely. So it's an interesting observation. I love hearing this, and I would love to hear the results after you've just started this. So maybe in a year, we can touch base and figure out how that went for you and if it was successful, because I'm very curious about more ways of connecting with team because they do leave in the first 3 months. I have a couple of them that have been with me 9-10 years and went by super fast. So I'm like, happy anniversary. They're like, already? Right?
I know.
So it goes by fast. Angela Brown actually also does something very similar. She had, when she was, before she retired, she had an extended team. And on Mondays, they each got 15 minutes and what they could decide whether they needed to talk to her or not need to talk to her. But I love your method more because it's more contact. It's more like, hey, how are you doing type of thing. So I'm very curious to see how this turns out for you. And then it sounds like you're making the cleaners feel bigger than it's just them cleaning. You're part of a bigger entity that's moving things along. It's generating income and paychecks for them and their families and stuff. And then as far as leadership and accountability, how do you balance the accountability with empathy? Because then that's a gray line. Like sometimes people, and we see it on Facebook, people overshare a lot. And you're like, wow, I don't know. So how are you managing the mix of that? Well, or how is your team I should say?
That's a great question. I think that we cannot forget this is still a business, right? And like we still have numbers, we still have goals that we want to achieve, and we still have things that we want to accomplish. So I think that the empathy is there. But if the company does well, we can pay more. Everybody wins when everybody is part of this team. So I think that reminding them of where we are, where we've been, and where we're going, it's extremely important because, again, the company is not just me, it's the entire team. So I think that having the empathy, having these one-on-ones, but also reminding them, okay, this is where we are, this is where we want to go, and this is what we're going to get if we get there, right? This is how much we can improve and then gain, make more money. So I think that that's something that I keep in mind every time that I talk to them.
God. What do you think could destroy company culture? What is one improvement you could tell others on how to be successful for company culture for their own teams?
Yeah, I definitely have one. And I think this is a big one. And we as a company, and I'll put this on me because, again, you're the owner, right? You're the one that is guiding the leadership team, your admin team, and what we have been guilty of, and we're making improvements in the last several months, and we've had several conversations. I believe one of the biggest things that can really damage culture is a bad apple, right?
Right. There's always one that floats around.
Always, right? And I think that that one person can start sharing things, talking in a specific way like that. It's something that we tend to not want to fire people. And we've been known internally, well, you guys, we never fire people, right? Why not? So we've been more intentional about being way more overstaffed because, again, we need to be overstaffed in order to growth. to grow, right? So that's number one. But also the other benefit of being overstaffed is that we can get rid of the bottom 10, 20%. And like something that we've been looking at a lot more in, if I may, just like a little plug here on Joy AI as well, is that now we're keeping track of metrics for each technician way more, not way better, way better, because we know now how many compliments they got, all the positive things, how many compliments, how many like client requests we have, but also how many times did they call out? How many times were they late? How many damages did they have, right? And we have a dashboard where we can see over a period of time, every single person. And I can have a complete snapshot of the entire team. So it's been a better, clearer way for us to see who is performing and who is not performing and who is causing like problems for us that could be that bad apple. And then whenever there is like even conversations with our admin team, when they show some sort of like little, let's call it attitude, we keep track of that. We put it in our dashboard and then we know that happened. So whenever we have these one-on-ones, we can just like print out a PDF and see, okay, these are the metrics. These are the things that you did in last month or 2 months. And then let's talk about it. But a bad apple it can really hurt your team.
Definitely. We've all had our fair share of them, and you just shake your head. And those are usually emotional decisions, by the way, everyone. Guilty as charged. Because you like in your mind, you're like, yeah, I'm going to help. And they're not thinking you're going to help them out. They're thinking, yay, I got a job. This will get me to the next phase. But you're like, dude, I helped you out. I helped you out. I helped you out. When in actuality, that was not a good decision. The decision was for you to hire a cleaning tech to do the end result, right?
Yes.
And I've done that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and can I add one more thing to that?
Sure.
Because in the beginning, and it's been a few years, and I'm super comfortable with firing people now, because a few years back, I realized when you fire someone, at first you might think, oh my God, I'm going to ruin their lives, and what are they going to do, and whatever it may be. But then I shifted my thinking to clearly this is not the best fit for them, for what they're doing. So if they're not performing, if they're not doing the right things, it's because something's wrong. Right. So they are better off doing something else. Right. So let's let them go from this thing, right? From our company, let them go and let them find something that's better for them so they can be happier and perform better and make more money, whatever it may be. So I see as letting go people, giving them the opportunity to like find something that they truly enjoy. Because again, cleaning is not for everyone, but cleaning is for a lot of people, right? So let's like focus on it on the people that are cleaning is for them, and then let the other people go if cleaning is not for them.
I concur 1,000%. There are going to be good ones and there's going to be bad ones. There's going to be people who hang out forever. We all know that Debbie Sordone had like turnkey employee. I mean, she had like 20, 25-year employees. I was like, how are you doing that? Right?
Crazy. Yes.
It was wild. At the time in the industry was unheard of. I'm like, are you feeding them Wheaties? What are you doing to keep them around? Right?
Something.
And I think all those guys have aged out now, but she for a long time had like 20, 25-year, 30-year employees. And like I said, it was just absolutely unheard of. So as your company grew, what became harder about maintaining the culture? Do you still feel that it has to be managed, or you've distributed it enough amongst your team that they can manage it? How does that work out for you and your team?
Interesting question. I think there are, as you grow, some things get easier, some things get more complicated.
Right. So very much so.
Yes, because you'll have more people that can manage more things for you as you hire more admin people, for example, right? That can take care of specific things versus you, if you're starting out and maybe you have 1 or 2 people in your admin, you're still dealing with some things, whether it is hiring or payroll or whatever it may be. As you grow, you have people that can take care of some things for you. But at the same time, we're dealing with people, and like people can be complicated because everyone is different. Everyone has had their own life experience. So keeping company culture as you have more people, I think if you're not intentional about it and like really bring it up every time you have a monthly meeting, for example, because we have the meeting actually right here in this room, like playing games, finding out more about the personal lives. And like, if we're not intentional about it, it can just like go haywire, and just like, they can just like not believe or not know how to talk to a client, what words to use, what we really truly stand for. do we help cancer patients? Like what are some of the things? So I think that being intentional and whenever you communicate, whether it is one-on-one or in the meetings, to always plug in like little things here and there about what we stand for and what we believe to be the right thing to do. And like, this is actually one of the things about our culture is that I don't care if we break something, whatever it is that we did wrong, we're going to do the right thing. I don't care if we lose a client, if we lose money, like everyone, please know, like, okay, we do the right thing. We're not going to cut corners. We're not going to do any of that. So like doing the right thing for me, it's a big thing.
Definitely. There's integrity in that statement on so many levels.
Yes.
There is a point, I guess, when you get to a certain size. Do you think that company culture is easier to manage when you're smaller versus you're larger? I mean, how does that work out? If you're a small operator and you may have 2 helpers, do you think it was easier to manage the culture then versus 30 cleaning techs and office staff and all the stuff that goes along with it?
I think yeah, well, I think for me it was like I said earlier, it's a journey, right? Because we as owners, as leaders, we evolve as the company grows. We become almost like not a different person, but it's a different stage of being a business owner. So I think at first, as you're asking the question, I'm like, it's definitely easier when you're smaller because you are dealing with less people, but at the same time, you don't have enough knowledge yet. Like you haven't gone through the things in order for you to hire, to talk, to have enough conversations with people to realize how important company culture is, right? Because especially if it is your first business, and for most of us in the cleaning industry, the cleaning is your first business, right? So in a way, it is easier when you're smaller, but at the same time, I think like if you're not super intentional about learning from the people that are bigger, that have gone through problems with company culture, right? Like it's going to be difficult. So I think it's overall easier because of the amount of people that you have on a team. But again, where you are in your entrepreneur journey, it can be a little more challenging just because you might not have enough experience to really share or how to focus, how to really guide everyone on like what you stand for.
Definitely. I think that as entrepreneurs, because many of us are, and this is our first business that creates legacy and asset purchasing and passive income further down the road, that there is an opportunity for us as humans. So you had just made a very valid statement. When you are first in operations, you are one person. And then when you're at your level, my level, we're an entirely different person. And then each time we scale, we kind of do a 180 each and every time. I often think of how much I've changed as a leader versus like when I was just in management in the restaurant industry or when I worked in the hotel industry versus what I am today. It's interesting to see the growth pattern and what those life experience, those blunders. I'm not perfect. I wish I could walk on water, but I've not been able to achieve that. So I think that's a very valid statement for that. Can free lunches, there's a lot of people who, and I'm guilty of this myself, and you probably maybe did it in the beginning and maybe you don't do it or maybe you never did it. Did you ever provide company culture by buying lunches when you were out in the field with them or not out in the field with them? Did you do those types of things as well? I mean, I know you have the monthly meetings, but I spoke to one business owner, they drive in Mercedes Sprint vans in pods and they deliver the pods information to your team is this really large area. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you manage 18 Sprinter vans, but do you ever do anything like that?
When I was smaller, yes, with the technicians, I did go around and I check on everybody, like how's everything, and I would bring them food or drinks or whatever. Now it's more about the admin team that talks to them, right? So like I do take my field manager to lunch every once in a while so I can have more of like a one-on-one, not from like I'm buying you something for like, like it's just for me to really connect at a deeper level versus being in the office. Let's go grab lunch, and then like find out more how she's doing, how's everything going, how's everything with the team. We talk business, of course, but like I want to connect with my admin team as well.
Awesome. I love that. And how are your managers responding? I know that you had mentioned termination, and that's always a scary thing for a lot of people, especially if you don't do it the right way. A lot of things can happen. How are your managers responding when something goes wrong? Like, is there a change? This is just mostly for the audience. I kind of know how it works, but for the audience, can you tell them like when there is a culture issue and you have the bad apple, what is the process for that? Is it 3 strikes you out? I know a lot of companies do that. Is it, you try to retrain? How many chances do you give someone before the bad apple finally leaves, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it depends, right? Depending on what the offense is. Because if it is a serious offense, there is no strike 2. It's a strike 1 and you're out.
Anything over $1,000 is like, well,
Yeah. And I think like anything, I don't think we ever had anything with like stealing. But if somebody took something and there was proof that they did, we've been accused a couple of times in the last 6-7 years of being in business, a couple of times that they accused us of stealing. But then we found out, no, nothing happened. It was actually like someone else that was in the building, another contractor. But I think that we don't have a like strike 3. I think it all depends on the situation. Like, I think what's important is for you to address, if there is an issue, don't rub it under the rug, right? Like address it, have the difficult conversation that needs to be had, find out what's going on. Sometimes, again, we're dealing with people. Some people, and most of us, let me rephrase that. Sometimes we go through difficult times in our own personal life, and the technicians are no different. Right. And sometimes they might be late, or there might be something that's happening, or they might be a little careless with a damage, like because of a serious situation. Whether it is, and in our case, someone that her husband is going through cancer, and like it's a pretty serious stage of cancer. And actually, we haven't had any major issues with her, actually. But if it is something that's serious, okay, have a little sympathy, right? Like have a little understand, have the conversation. But I think, so for us, we don't have a specific strike 3. For me, it's more about understanding where they are, what's really going on behind whatever the issue is that just happened, whether it is with the client or a cleaning that didn't go as well as we thought, or a bad Google review. So I think, like, again, back to the communication and back to like people having that one-on-one conversation is extremely, extremely important.
That's just awesome sauce. I love it, because you're looking at a case by case basis versus 3 strikes you're out and you're just, okay, I'm done. I think that management styles have changed so much in the last couple decades. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me when I think back to how long I've been working and what I was treated, and what we do now is entirely different. Mm-hmm. Do you think that? Well, you probably do. There's the whole, like, I'm always about, if you have to terminate, do it with dignity. I'm not about humiliating anyone. Mm-hmm. But I've seen it. I've watched other people do it. I'm like, hey, that wasn't cool. Why did you do that? Right. Mm-hmm. But it's an interesting dynamic for sure. Do you have any questions for me on anything? I always like to ask, and you had mentioned you wanted to share a little bit more about what you have going on. We can do that as well.
No, I don't know if I have questions, but I think that, so a few things that I wanted to share. I own a couple other companies. I come from a tech background, and I think that in the world of AI technology, it's super important, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't want to completely replace the human side of things, because we're still humans. Humans are buying our services, and humans will always be around, I believe, and are needed in order to provide service to another human. But technology and AI are extremely important for us to implement in our business for multiple different reasons, right? For us to be more efficient, for us to make more money, for us to, whatever it may be, make better decisions. So in the last few years, I've also been a little bit more involved in the acquisition world, and understanding what it takes for you to have a more valuable company, and technology, processes, systems, having the people and the owner itself not being so involved, depending on the size of the company, not being so involved in the day-to-day. Mm-hmm. All of these things, as you grow, like, pay attention to these things, right? Because I don't know, everyone is different, but I think that we're all going to get older. We're all going to get to a point where, like, okay, I've done enough. Like, I would like to, like, retire or do something else, or go to the beach, or move to Costa Rica. And I think that having your business always, in the case something happens, have it ready in the case that you have to sell your business. Because some things take time, right? Implementing technology, implementing AI, these things do take time. So I have been super focused on not just the processes and systems, but having technology in place that helps us be more efficient from an automation perspective, but making better decisions. Because again, AI can make decisions, but again, we're as the owners, as the leaders, we do have to make decisions on a lot of different aspects of the business. So make sure that you do utilize these things. And Joy AI, for me, the reason why I started this application is for us to be able to make better decisions. Like for the example that I gave in terms of our teams, right? I was just so like tired of looking at so many different spreadsheets. We had like over 30 or 40 different spreadsheets for all these different things, right? From like scheduling to budget to like team management, all of it. And I'm like, there has to be a better way.
Right.
And inventory, like how much in products each technician is utilizing. I didn't know. I have no idea. I know how much I spend on per month, and then maybe like how much by each supplier. But then he was just like, no, I want to know like, is this person using my products for something else? I don't know. Are they taking some home? I don't know, So I wanted to understand a little bit more. So we started this about a year ago, and then it's been very cool to see the evolution of being a way more organized business by being able to see things and make better decisions and like really understand what's going on behind the hood or under the hood. So So again, a plug, but not a plug, but like build your own, like build your own, like utilize technology to AI today. You can like build stuff so quickly, right? That I truly believe that utilizing technology, utilizing AI is only going to benefit your business long term, especially if you're at a point where in the next 5, 10, 15 years, you're thinking of selling your business. So use technology.
I think that's awesome. So what part of the acquisition process are you in? Are you buying businesses and selling them? What are you doing with those?
I'm always I've bought smaller businesses that we ended up adding to our recurring clients, right? So I just bought recurring clients. So I'm always
Did you buy a list or an actual company?
It was just a list.
Gotcha. What does a list go for nowadays? Just out of curiosity. So that's for here. I'm asking questions.
Yeah. My way to approach it, and again, businesses, when they're so small, right? They have, I don't know, they're not a company because they don't have a system. They don't have a way to generate leads. So like when people approach you, and again, I've heard this story many, many times where somebody wants to buy a business and I'm like, is it really a business or are you literally just buying a book of business? Like you're just buying the client. So be careful with that because I've heard a lot of people paying a lot of money for something that was not worth it. And then all of a sudden, half of those clients ended up leaving because now it's a different process, a different company, it's a different everything, right? So like, I think it's super important for people to pay attention to that. So my approach to it is that I pay 3 months worth of revenue that these recurring clients bring in. That's my approach to it. Depending on, it's a slightly different case by case, but for the most part, that's what I'm willing to pay. If it's not a company,
That's from what I've said, because I talk to a lot of people. So that sounds about from what I've heard. So I was just curious. How many have you acquired? Is it been like 4 or 5 of them or just when it presents itself?
Whenever they present itself, but so far in the last, I would say 3 years, it's been about 4 of them that I've bought 25 clients here, 15 clients there, or 30 clients here.
Gotcha.
And always, whenever just because when I first started Joy of Cleaning, I didn't start myself. It was actually maybe I'll take a minute to share how we started.
Sure.
But I used to live in Costa Rica. I moved to St. Pete. And then when I came here, I hired a couple from Brazil. I'm originally from Brazil as well. So I hired a couple from Brazil. They started cleaning our house. And then one day they said, oh, I'm sorry, we have bad news, but we have good news. I was like, okay, what's the bad news? We're moving to Washington State. I was like, oh, wow, that's a far move. I said, okay, what's the good news? Oh, you already have someone else that can come and clean for you. You don't have to look for someone else. I said, okay. When I started this conversation with them because I was like, oh, maybe there's an opportunity here. I started asking them, how are you going to get paid for these clients? You've been working on getting these recurring clients for about 3 years. And they had about 27 recurring clients at the time. So I asked them once we move, this new person is going to send us the money over a period of time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, are you sure she's going to send you the money? I don't know. I don't want to say anything, but I don't know. So I just decided to make him an offer to buy these 27 recurring clients. And the main point that I'm trying to make here is that back then and to this day, just know that a percentage of the clientele, these clients that you buy, will leave. So whatever the deal that you make with them, just know that I would say up to 50% but guarantee about 10 to 20% of whatever list you buy or the book of business that you buy, they will leave. Keep that in mind when you make an offer to buy these clients from other people that are moving back to Brazil or moving back somewhere, or they're just tired of, and they have 20 clients that they want to get rid of. Know that 10, 20% will leave, sometimes more.
Right. It's always a scary process to do the thing with, like, even when you're buying a whole business, a full-fledged, fully operational business, and people are making payments. I've heard nightmare stories about a lot of things, which I'm sure you have as well, where no payment comes through and, it just because then they crash the business. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just awful to watch. But yes, I think that is a good rule of thumb, because people approach me a lot about this and that. And I'm like, well, this is what I see. I usually refer them to people because I've only brokered a couple deals myself with my own businesses. I've not done anyone else's, but it's always good to have a nice rule of thumb, especially for those listening here going, maybe I'm going to step out of this. Maybe I'm not. What could I expect to get? So that gives them a nice basis. Are there any other process of acquisition that you're doing? Are you doing like laundromats or any other type of cleaning services, or are you just strictly for the residential cleaning?
Before, I was looking at any home service business. I was very actively looking for these businesses, and I found out that's not a good idea. So you can get close to the making an offer and then accepting it, but then I realized, okay, it's not as complicated. There's a lot involved, right? Because a lot of these people have built these businesses all their entire lives, and then I think it's super important for you to understand the industry if you are going to be the one running the business. So just be careful. So I realized that it's better to just focus on one versus trying to own all these different businesses in different industries. Because one, focus is important. If you want to grow something, right, a business, focus is super important. So for me, I choose to just okay, I want to stick with cleaning. But now with Joy AI being more of a software company, right? So I welcome anybody that is home service, because the software can help any type of business, from cleaning to landscaping, pool cleaning, carpet cleaning, all of that. The software will help them be more efficient and operate in a better way.
Perfect. Now, is this Joy AI, is it an app or is it a desktop type of, I know you're saying AI, but just for the people so if they were, is it on Apple? Could they just get it there? Where do they find Joy AI at?
Yeah, so is automatejoy.ai, that's the website, but it's a web application, just like ZenMaid, Jobber, all of it. You have a login, you log into the platform, and then you have all the different features, all the things for you to manage your business, from managing your team, managing inventory, to creating content online, to getting NPS score, tipping, kudos to your team, right? Incentivize more company culture. Yeah.
So tell the audience what the NPS score is for you.
Sure. NPS score for me is and we get a lot of them. I mean, we get a lot of them, and I've been a little bit more active posting on my social media because it's just so cool. But it's a simple and quick way to get feedback from the client, and we make it super easy for them to give us feedback. So just like I believe almost anyone, a cleaning gets done, we send them a text message, they click on a link, and they tell us from 1 to 10, how did it go? If it went well, leave us a comment. And a lot of times, I want to say maybe 20, 30% of all the text messages that go out, they leave us some sort of NPS score. Wow. Most of them being 10. Good. A lot of them being 9s. We get that 5 or sometimes a 4 here and there, but it's rare for us. I think we focus a lot on the quality and doing the right thing, right? But I really enjoy receiving and reading these comments because it's frictionless, and a Google review, it just takes a little bit more work, even though we focus so much on Google reviews. Again, if you're starting out, focus on your Google My Business. Focus on getting Google reviews. I cannot stress this enough. It's extremely, extremely, extremely important. And if I can brag a little bit here,
yes,
take a moment. We at Joy of Cleaning here in the St. Pete area, we have more Google reviews than any other company. It doesn't matter if it's Molly Maid, whatever it may be, nothing against Molly Maids, but we have put so much focus on Google reviews. We have now about 850 Google reviews for the amount of time.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. So reply to your Google reviews. Make sure that you include keywords on your replies. Make sure that you include keywords on your profile, right? Like all of these things are extremely, extremely important, and ask for them, right? Ask for the Google. If you don't ask, you don't get. So,
Right.
but going back to the NPS score, I really enjoyed them. And it's just a way to get feedback from the clients that is super easy to get from them.
That's awesome. Anything else?
I think that covers it. And we can touch on, what was it again that you mentioned maybe on another podcast? We can definitely talk about it on a different time.
Yeah, we can definitely. Donny had been generous enough to offer in another group that I saw that I was cyber stalking as I was cruising through. I call it cyber. I'm constantly in either one group or another group or whatever, in my own group about, and we can definitely do a whole episode on that. You had utilized, because I'm really big into trade and bartering, and I was like, it caught my attention. I thought it would be a great way to have a podcast for just that topic of trading for advertisement. Now, I've traded for a lot of things over time. I've traded for radio space, newspaper ads, but you had an interesting concept with influencers, is my understanding. Now, I skimmed, I didn't read the whole thing of what you were doing, but I thought it would be great to have a podcast. You have to come back on and talk all about that if you had time.
Oh, absolutely. And just in a nutshell, because people can do this on their own, right? Essentially what we're doing is we're finding influencers, and this is very important. Please pay attention. Find influencers where they're following, all of their followers, or not all their followers, but a good percentage of their followers are actually local. Because I've had stories like, oh, I tried the influencer marketing thing, but it doesn't work. Well, did you check if the followers of these people are actually in the town that you provide the service? Because if the followers are not there, they're never going to be your customer. It doesn't matter how much they interact with them. They're never going to be your customer because they live in California and you provide service here in Florida, right? So finding the influencers where the following is local is extremely important. That's step one. And then you reach out to them, you explain what you do, and all you do is exchange service, a free cleaning. In our case, we exchange a free cleaning in exchange for a reel or a couple of stories. And then now it has evolved to an entire process where we ask for a few different things. Leave us a Google review, leave us a testimonial. And we've been doing this for a little over 4 years, maybe 5 years now. Wow. And I've shared the numbers in a group. I don't know if you want me to share just to give an idea, but over the past 4 or 5 years, clients that came from influencers have generated us close to $1 million. And we've done under, I think, $70,000 or $80,000 in cleaning. So we've had more than a 10x, on our free cleaning. Plus, what's happening is that, again, like it's hard to compare with Google Ads because you're creating these relationships with these influencers, right? Over time, as you work with them, they're so grateful to you that now, for example, if I need more people on my team and I'm hiring, I can ask them, hey, do you mind posting for me about hiring that we're hiring? And they're like, absolutely, no problem at all. Can you post about this for me? We're doing an event. Of course, no problem. So I think that there's a huge benefit to creating relationships with these influencers than just doing Google Ads. I'm not saying to completely stop, but it's definitely another tool in your toolbox to generate leads and having multiple ways, right? Because when you rely only on Google Ads, it's just like you're on handcuffs, and it's hard to just like, if they increase, right?
Expensive handcuffs.
Yes. And it's like, there's nothing you can do if the cost per lead goes up. It's like, I just have to put more money because I need the leads. If you don't have any other way to generate leads, then you're stuck. So this is just another way. And I think for us, it has been a huge way to generate leads for us.
Awesome. We'll have to have you on and you can give step by step, because I know now I'm going to get messages like, how did he do that? I'm like, I don't, we'll get it all figured out. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate your time and putting in the effort for the audience. And I want to tell you to have a great weekend. You take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.